Hey, folks, we are the MCU'S Bleeding Edge over here tonight on Friday, 11/29/24, with Cyberneticshark, my co-host, and Andre's the pop culture guy, fellow veteran content creator and YouTuber, here to do our Glory live stream review, guys. Glory. So, Glory, which I didn't know, but actually had a really interesting behind the scenes kind of deal with the making of it and all that, with Matthew Broderick and his mom and all that stuff. Really interesting stuff. He quit the movie at one point, right? And he was the lead, and they made this movie. They made the movie as a vehicle for him, basically, off the stardom of Ferris Bueller's Day Off. So really interesting stuff. I really enjoyed reading about the backstory of the making of the film, the information I could find. So Glory is a 1989, what a year, 1989, American war film directed by Edward Zwick about the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, one of the Union's Army's earliest African-American regiments in the American Civil War. Stars Matthew Broderick, Denzel Washington, Carrie Ooze, Morgan Freeman, and a smorgasbord of other people, basically. But those are the main players. So essentially, Glory was co-produced by TriStar Pictures and Freddie Fields Productions, distributed by TriStar. Premiered February 16, 1990. It grossed $27 million worldwide on an $18 million budget. Not bad. Nominated for 5 Academy Awards, won 3, including Best Supporting Actor for Denzel in 1990. And also, I believe cinematography and music is where they won, if I remember correctly. So, they won 3 Oscars. And before we launch into the actual film itself and get into the introduction of it, Cyber, where are you at with Glory? What are your general thoughts in terms of your first watch and all that good stuff?
Well, I saw this in the 90s, right shortly after it came to VHS. And because it was considered like a historical type of film and based on, the Civil War, it was considered a very like film you could see, you could show in school, you could do all that stuff. Like, this is something that was considered a historic value for your learning process. So I remember watching it on VHS shortly after it came out. I think it got released like in 91 or 92 on VHS finally, after it had been in theaters. And I remember falling in love with this movie and just absolutely felt everything about this film. Not only was it the first film to depict the life of a, African American trying to basically gain their freedom during the Civil War, it was also the first film to really depict, their like a regiment of theirs that they were all a part of in the Civil War versus, talking about any of the other bigger battles. This is the first film that actually concentrated on one of their posses, basically. And, basically after watching it, I just remember coming away from it feeling like, wow, that was absolutely amazing. The writing, the directing, the script, the acting by everyone, the music, the cinematography, everything about this film was perfection to me. And I just remember loving this movie and thinking this is got to be the best war film I had ever seen up to that point. And I remember just thinking to myself, wow, this just is really, it's nice to see something different versus other war films I had seen. And it was nice to see more about history that, we always got to remember that we weren't there. So we're going off of people's stories that they've written down. And over the years, they can get convoluted, they can get messed up. You know, you can only go and say, okay, this so much is what really happened. And so what they did depict in this, I think, is very interesting to see, you know, if that was how it was, that was very interesting and enjoyable. And I think that the whole concept was really done well. Comparing it to watching it recently, you know, as an older adult, it still had the same impact on me. It still was a really fantastic film, same principles. It was amazing. It was great. It was exactly what I remember it being. And I just always enjoyed watching this film. And I think it's one of the best war films. You know, I would say my top 5 war films that I have enjoyed over the years of watching cinema. And this one, I think, is one of the top ranking ones that I feel everyone should definitely check out because of how powerful it is and just how well done it was, and giving you an example of what it could have been like during the Civil War. So I think it's a really fantastic film, and I love watching it. No matter how many years in between I've watched it.
Okay, Andres.
Yeah. Same here with Saber. You know, this the first time I saw this, I seen this many times in TV, but my first exposure with it was in school, and it's a fantastic war film. I think it's my personal favorite. Just nails everything right. I mean, this is a part of the history we don't like. We talk about the Civil War, but not in this area with the first black soldiers of their own unit. Is something that you rarely talk about in history. So I think it's cool to learn this piece of history that we don't talk as often in other histories. We talk to death about World War II, or Vietnam. We talked about that quite a bit, but we never talk about some other aspect of wars that we don't rarely discuss. World War I or Civil War. So yeah, fantastic movie. Love the performance here. Denzel Washington is the highlight of this film. I'm so happy he won the Oscar for this. This is his first Oscar for supporting actor, which is really great. I mean, Morgan Freeman is awesome as always. He just, it's this great actor. And then you get the other actors that I recognize, from Princess Bride actor is here, which is great. And Matthew Broderick, he's fantastic as the lead here. Very excited to talk about this film. 89 greatest year for films, and I think this was a good year to end in 1989. So very excited to talk about this film.
There you go, most definitely, yeah. And I really enjoyed my watch for the review.
You mute, sir.
You all of a sudden your sound went again.
Hello. There you go. What the fuck is going on with my computer, man? Now I can't hear.
You can't hear us?
Oh, now I can. Okay. You were muted. All right, there we go. That a little fuckery for you, baby. That's how we do it over here, Bleeding Edge style. A little fuckery. Anyways, that was like an Iceman, but there was no. Yeah, there you go. It was an Iceman, but there was no Iceman. It was an audio Iceman. So yeah, Glories is like totally, in my opinion, rewatchable, like without question. It's very much holds up. And it's so it's got such a great cast. They really did a great job with the African American actors in the film, that part of the film. That's where there's a lot of heavy hitters among the black actors in the film. And they, they're obviously a massive part of the film. But Matthew Broderick did a really good job. Hats off to him. I'd have to imagine that he probably felt a lot of pressure on him to carry that movie, right? And you think about where he was at in his career, after Glory, things kind of dried up for him a little bit. They didn't dry up, but he didn't do so hot for a while there until the Cable Guy came out. He wasn't exactly killing it in his films. So Glory was like his opus. But yeah, I mean, just a great cast. Obviously, we'll talk about that as we talk about the film. And we actually get into the characters. But so in terms of the plot, after being wounded at Antietam, great. Hopefully, I won't fuck up any of the Civil War lingo. Captain Robert Gould Shaw is sent home to Boston on medical leave. His well-connected father obtains for him a promotion to colonel of the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, one of the first all-black regiments in the Union Army. Shaw appoints his friend and fellow soldier, Cabot Forbes, as the second in command. Their first volunteer is Thomas Searles, a bookish, free African-American who works as the Shaw family secretary. Other recruits include John Rawlins, Jupiter Sharts, Silas Tripp, and a mute teenage drummer boy whom Rawlins refers to as Homie, I guess. Homey. That's Homie, baby. In my dictionary. I don't think they call him Homie in the movie, but I'm calling him Homie. The mute drummer boy. I didn't see him in the final battle. They should have thrown him out there. Gave him a gun. But so what do you guys think? Andre's the pop culture guy. That's our introduction for the film, right? Yeah. Take us to before they actually initiate the regiment, right? That part where they actually make it happen.
Okay. So the beginning part is really just enthralled. Like you're.
Well, I my bad. I'm sorry about that. You can go all the way to where they start the regiment.
Like training, like
when they first start, you first see the characters for the first time and all that.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. When they meet up. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So before we see the other characters in the camp, right? The training camp before they go in battle and such. This part of the section is really great. You get really great character development with the central characters that we see in the film, particularly with Roderick's character, Robert Shaw. Fascinating character. I'm not familiar with this historic character, but I think Broderick does a really good job of bringing this character to life. He does a really good job with the narration. Of course, he has done that before with Ferris Bueller, with the kind of talking to the audience. So all that really works. I think his friendship with the second command, that's played by the Princess Bride actor, is really good. You can tell they have a history. Apparently, just like a insert trivia, apparently him and his second command didn't get along during the film. So it's very funny. And like apparently that second command had more scenes in the film, but they cut like a lot from the film. So it's interesting that he's in the film, like I do remember him, but like it's funny just reading up the behind scenes of Glory. Like there was a little bit more trouble production because apparently Matthew Broderick was kind of difficult during this production.
No, it was his mom. Oh, his mom.
That is new to me.
Yeah.
Like
it wasn't him. It was the mom.
Okay, so like she was the producer of this film.
He had issues too, but she was the main protagonist. She was the one that had the biggest qualms with the script and all that. Yeah, okay. It was her.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, because it's Jane Alexandro, the American Canadian actress that we see here briefly. Yeah, we don't see enough of her. So I mean, she is a great actress. I mean, she's in All the First Man, Kramer versus Kramer. If you've seen those films, they're fantastic. So yeah, I can understand why. Because I mean, one thing I appreciate about this film is that it's not too long compared to other war films. Like a lot of us, like three of us, had seen a couple of war movies, and some of them are very long. I mean, like Saving Private Ryan is like long, but like it's a good film. I mean, it paced well, but sometimes you don't need these war movies to be long. And I always like Glory because it's such a like well paced, like fast, just straight to the point, like war movie, and I like that. Getting to the instead of just going for like the moments of the popular moments of historic importance, we just stick with the minor ones and like really focus on the characters and on what this means to them join it, in the Civil War. Like I appreciate that. Of course, Saving Private Ryan is different else, but like there's other movies where they tried to cram too much history. That's when the movie falters for me. But this movie doesn't do that. I thought the Thomas, the other childhood friend, of course, played by the late great Andre, was it Perkin? Who he's famous for playing the commissioner in Nine the Nine Brooklyn show, and of course he was in House. He was the therapist that helped House to get clean for his addiction. Fantastic actor. Very very sad he's not more with us. He's great in this film as well. This is his film debut, actually. The actor that plays Thomas. So I thought it sold that really well. Yeah, I think the sequence does a really good job of getting us to know these characters before they come into the camp. And one thing I had to bring up is the music. I mean, I thought the music is really wonderful during this sequence, performed by James Horner, who is also not here with us. Great composer. I think he really elevates the that time period. But yeah, so I think this is a great introduction to our characters that we're going to follow throughout the film.
Cyber.
All right. So we're going up to when they start.
The initiation of the actual regiment.
Okay. So the movie starts off with a huge battle, and that is fucking amazing. I mean, you get right into the action into this. You see how war is for that, that time period in the Civil War. I mean, I always crack up watching these movies because I'm like, why the hell they just kept marching forward as they're being shot at? I never get. It's the same thing with the Revolutionary War. I'm like, what the hell were they thinking? Thankfully, the guns were not as accurate as they are today, so they, had less to worry about being shot at and actually getting hit. But at the same time, I just always crack up at that process of how they thought they should fight the war by just marching forward and being shot at. But anyways, still fantastic war footage here. Great action, great battle sequences showing just how graphic the Civil War was and how, the South and, and everything, the North and the South decided to fight each other and just where we were at this time period in 1863. And, it was very interesting, just like showing kind of how some of these people reacted and stuff like that. And you get kind of a good idea of kind of that, Matthew Broderick's character, Robert Shaw Gould, kind of, even though he ended up becoming a, decorated soldier, it kind of showed how he was playing him and like what they went on from his letters, that he was kind of a coward. He was kind of not like as strong of a leader as they thought he was. And I feel they did a good job of portraying that at this very beginning battle, showing you kind of, him kind of hiding amongst the dead bodies to kind of survive kind of deal. And I think that, probably a lot of these men probably did that. I mean, because the majority of these guys were just civilians. They weren't soldiers. They weren't, they were militia. They were just going out fighting for what they thought was right. And, I think they did a really great job of showing kind of the impact of this beginning war. And then, going kind of into the story, showing more about Matthew Broderick's character, showing him, advancing a little bit for surviving the war. And, we get introduced to these other soldiers. We get introduced to Morgan Freeman, Denzel Washington's character, et cetera, et cetera. And, we get introduced to one of the first, black, militia military people. And, one thing I love about this film and this sequence here is they really show that, think about it, the United States gave the opportunity to these black people, these black men, to get a chance to be free. And, in a culture that was so enticed in slavery. And I love that they showed that in this, showing that we gave them a chance to get their freedom. Like, we're not as bad as everyone thinks, that we were all about slavery. And so I think that, I love that they show that in this film. I love that they bring that kind of out throughout the entire film. And it really starts off at the beginning here, showing, these black, military guys and kind of, their camaraderie with the other people. Of course, throughout the film, and throughout this section here, this very beginning section, it shows the kind of the opposition between, the black and white people in the military and so on and so forth. And, I think that, they did a good job with the screenplay. They gave us reality versus what one side thinks from the other. And I love that they did a good job of writing it like that. This movie is one of those films that just really pulls it together and gives us a real good dose of reality. And they did such a great job at this beginning, giving us this kind of this great reality of what they thought went on. Because once again, we weren't there, so we can't 100% know exactly what happened. So for what we do know, I think they did a really good job here, giving us this, thought process of how the 54th, basically started, how it became. And I love all the different actors they got for this film. I mean, Matthew Broderick, Cary Elwes, Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, Andre Braugher. I mean, all these guys were up and coming stars at this point. Really, they were coming into the careers. They were becoming bigger. Matthew Broderick was just coming off of Ferris Bueller, as you mentioned earlier about how they kind of catalyst this movie for Matthew Broderick because of how popular he became. You can see that. You can see why he was kind of front and center in this, even in this beginning portion, giving you all kind of that history of him and kind of how his family life was leading up to becoming this, the basically kind of the leader of this battalion and kind of what led to that. And I think they did just a really good job with that. It was a lot of great action and just gave us a really fantastic beginning to this film. Really enjoyable.
Did you guys know, quick tidbit for you guys, did you guys know that that baseball became super popular during the Civil War? Like, that's when it became popular?
Really? I saw one of the
sport of
soldier
baseball.
teams.
The sport of baseball. What do you say, Andres?
I saw
you saw in the movie them playing baseball?
Yeah, it was in the beginning or the middle. We saw
Yeah, in the beginning they play baseball. Yeah. The baseball became popular in the Civil War.
Oh wow!
In the letters from the men that fought in the Civil War, it's been heavily made clear that baseball was the most popular sport among the soldiers. For the Confederates and the Union. They liked football too, but baseball was number one. It first became popular in Massachusetts and New York, and then it grew from there, and it became like at that point a national thing. But both sides of the war played baseball, and they actually had games between the different prisons. Like believe it or not, can you believe that shit? Like the prison people for like the Confederacy played baseball as a team.
That makes sense. Because you're waiting before you go out to do the war, right? What else are you gonna do for your spare time? Like baseball is easy to do. Like like it's a simple thing to set up. You don't need to use like an actual bat. Like you can use like a stick or something like that, or like something that's strong enough to hit the ball. So that makes a lot of sense. Football is like kind of like, because if you do football, you're gonna hurt yourself, and so you don't want to hurt your soldiers. You can lose a lot more.
It was prisoners of war that like helped make baseball popular during the Civil War. It was prisoners of war. Captured Union soldiers taken to Confederate prison camps would often play baseball as the guards watched.
That makes sense.
What do you think about that, Cyber? That's pretty interesting, right?
About the baseball?
Yeah. Can you believe that the fucking Union would actually play baseball with the South, with their prisoners?
No, it's not surprising, because if you think about it, the origin of baseball really goes back farther than the 1800s. They feel that people got the thought process of, baseball itself from a lot of British games that were going on in the 1700s. So it doesn't shock me, because if you think about it, if you go back and look at, MLB and stuff like that, they'll say that a lot of teams formed in the late 1800s. So it's not shocking that, something that was considered a pastime that was a part of American history, that is, like, as we gone through the centuries and years and stuff like that, it says it's America's pastime, which right there, it just showed you when you learned that fact about that baseball was done during the Civil War, right there. One of the biggest wars of the 1800s had baseball in it. So it doesn't shock me, because I knew that baseball started out around that time, late 1800s. So that, it's cool at the same time, but I kind of already knew that from, if you watch the baseball documentary by Ken Burns, he actually talks about that in that.
Yeah, I mean, this is spread throughout the South. Captain James Hall of the 24th Alabama Regiment from the Rebels observed that his men, while Joe Johnston was waiting at Dalton to see what Sherman was going to do, played baseball just like schoolboys. So there you go. How about that, folks? That's like there you go. That's our trivia. Like, that's like our IPMB like extra trivia for the review. Baseball during the Civil War. How about that? So there you go. All right. So the men learned that in response to the Emancipation Proclamation, the Confederacy has issued an order that captured black men are to be returned to slavery. Black soldiers found wearing uniforms will be executed, as well as their white officers. Shaw offers honorable discharges to any man who does not want to fight, but no one takes his offer. The men undergo rigorous training from Sergeant Major Mulcahy, who is particularly hard on Searles. Despite Mulcahy's treatment of his friend and the abuse he inflicts on the other recruits, Shaw reluctantly accepts the tough discipline is needed to prepare them for the coming challenges the regiment must face. So, Tripp deserts and is caught, and Shaw orders him flogged in front of the regiment. He then learns that Tripp left to find proper shoes because his men are being denied these supplies. Shaw confronts the base's racist quartermaster on their behalf and gets the supplies. He also supports his men in a pay dispute. The federal government decrees that black soldiers will only be paid $10, not the $13 per month that white soldiers receive. When the men, led by Tripp, begin tearing up their pay vouchers in protest of this unequal treatment, Shaw tears up his own voucher and declares that none of the white officers will accept pay in recognition of the leadership he has displayed. Rollins is promoted to the rank of Sergeant Major. There you go. So, Cyber, what do you think? Off that segment I just gave you of the film.
All right. So, I mean, this is a great section. Really it gets you intense into the film, especially the flogging scene. And Denzel Washington starts to cry. That gets me every fucking time I watch it because he is so fucking good in this movie. He literally makes me feel for him because of how good he is as an actor. And I was just in love with that character. I absolutely loved his character. And which is sad fact is that that character is actually 100% fictional. He's not based off of anybody from that regiment. He is all 100% fictional that they put together when they wrote the screenplay. And is that same thing with Morgan Freeman's character and Carrie Elwes's character? All three of their characters are all fictional, not based on anybody actually from the regiment. But this section really gives you an idea of kind of, how kind of how things were, giving you an idea of how, the white soldiers were, treated the black soldiers and how they didn't get as good as gear. So like that they say happened because of, always thinking that, black people have been, evil people, for centuries, people thinking that, and that they're not as, worthy as the white folks, that was being shown there and that kind of dispute. And, Denzel Washington's character going to bat and getting the stuff he needs for the characters is really done well. It was really executed properly. It was really done beautifully. And I thought it was very moving and very exciting through that film. I felt that this section, even though it kind of got into kind of that mixture, it still was very well timed. It still kept the movie flowing properly and kept you enticed and kept you intrigued and wanting to know more. And, this kind of also shows kind of how Shaw's opinion starts to change, with the times and stuff like that. And, that these are just men as well who, and that we all as men fight for the same thing. We're all fighting for the freedom of our country. And so I think that is so beautifully done in this section, showing you kind of how Shaw is seeing the differences and seeing that, he's progressing and how he's changing his mindset and, learning that, we're all equal. And so I think that a lot of this section here, leading up to your endpoint, is just really done well. And I think I just really enjoyed this section. And I think a lot of it is just really done well. I think probably the interesting part there too is that we really get kind of a lot of interesting information about certain characters throughout the section too. We learn a lot more about the different characters and kind of where they're coming from and kind of what they're dealing with. And I think the actor that played the drummer boy, Homie, he did a fantastic job. And rewatching this, I was looking at him going, who the hell is that? I know I've seen him before. And I still can't pinpoint it, but I just remember thinking, I remember at the time when the first time I watched it, I was like, that guy is going to be a star just like Denzel Washington. And this guy is going to be awesome. And he ended up becoming like one of those great bit characters that was in a whole bunch of movies throughout the 90s and early 2000s, stuff like that. I just remember thinking he was really fun. But I thought he did a fantastic job in this section. We got, kind of an idea of who he was. And I think that he just does a really great job of bringing his character life in this section. But yeah, overall, such a great section. Gives you a really great idea of what it was like and just really, moves the movie along to show you just kind of what these guys were dealing with during the Civil War and just kind of the turmoil and mess that they had to deal with. So really powerful stuff and really well done.
Okay, Andre's the pop culture guy.
So one of the best war movies for me is when we see our characters getting trained. We don't always often see our characters like trained before they like are sent out to the war. And so like that's why I really like, Full Metal Jacket, because you see the soldiers being conditioned to be killer machines. Here I like it's cool to see these, like black soldiers and slaves, try to be properly trained to fight the war they're going up to. It's really neat to see, seeing like the routine, how to use the proper rifles. Like I really dug that kind of thing because we don't see as often in war when we see our soldiers being trained to to combat the rivals and the fronts, right? And at the same time, I do agree with Cyber that you see each of the characters getting changed during this training, particularly Thomas, right? Like Thomas, the childhood friend with Robert Shaw. He's a black like free man. He's not a slave like the others, right? And so it's interesting to see his his condition here, like not being treated properly, like as a gentleman, but like just a soldier, like, and you see that like he struggles a little bit, that he starts to get used to it later in the film, and to be a soldier. And he's one of those fascinating characters there, fascinating character there to see his upbringing against him becoming a soldier, because he said to Robert early in the film that he's going to be his first volunteer, yeah. And then you see Shaw also, he's trying to be a good leader, right? He has everything like weighty on his back, because like this is the first black unit, right? He's trying to get them ready for war, presumably, right? And I like this film, you see that it could happen that people, despite promising this like unique thing, having an all black unit, it doesn't mean they're gonna get the same privilege as like we do, and and good example as the uniforms and shoes, and it's frustrating, but like fortunately people don't see them as equal. And so I appreciate later on that the Shaw had to make it work, because they need that, because they were suffering from disease or cuts, as we see with Denzel Washington's character, because he had to get new shoes because his feet was getting really bad. I mean, really like effective, trip. So, and oh my God, the speaking of Trip, fascinating character, very close up because of the history he has. When we get to the fire camp towards the end of the film, but you see him, he's one of the slaves that had the harshest life, and that whip scene is so powerful. I mean, like Denzel performance is so fantastic. Like like his tear in his eye just gets you so badly. It's like, oh my God, that's so I mean, before that, it's like when they take up the shirt, you see the scars. Like that is very true. Like they, fortunately these people get whipped every time, and they get the scars from the whips. And seeing that before he gets getting whipped, it's like really hard. And, really well directed film in that scene, and really just sad for him. It's just trying to get proper shoes to to properly work right, and train. So I think this section is really good. And also you see conflict between Shaw and his best friend, who is second command. He's trying his best to train the the comrades properly, where Shaw played by Roderick, is trying to train them to move fast and be efficient, because you're gonna get shot quickly in that battlefield, as we see with the beginning. So fantastic sequence. Very powerful. You see all the actors being top form. As Saber say, or Jeff brought up that this is their beginning to rise as stars. I mean, like Roderick. I mean Freeman and Denzel. It's powerful performances here in this section. Well done. I mean, this part is my favorite part about the film, is to see everyone getting trained, and see the conditions of what has to be to become a soldier.
Yeah, I do. Most definitely. Yeah. The like you said, Andreas, the characters really do evolve and grow really well. Especially the colored characters, really, as characters grow a lot, throughout the film, and it's enjoyable. It's very entertaining and fun to watch them, and there's there's a lot of really great chemistry between the actors, I think, in the film. Morgan Freeman and Denzel, the stuff with Denzel and Browner is good. But nevertheless, so once the 54th completes its training, the unit is transferred to serve under the command of Brigadier General Charles Harker. On their first mission, the 54th is ordered by Colonel James Montgomery to sack and burn Darien, Georgia, with Montgomery's own poorly disciplined black soldiers. Shaw initially refuses to obey an unlawful order, but reluctantly agrees under threat of facing a court-martial and being relieved of his command, and threatened that he'd lose his soldiers. So I'll again stop there, and I'll go right back to you. I'm just a pop culture guy. And what are your thoughts on that smaller section right there where you get Shaw lobbying to get his troops into the game, and then they get their first action in that really kind of really fucked up scene where they sack that town.
Yeah. This is the part where you're with Shaw and you're frustrated because, as I said before, they don't get the same privilege as any soldier. And so you think they're going to go first to the battlefield, but then it kind of turns into more of they're just there to do, mundane things, and then also doing crime, things, which is nothing new. I mean, if you pay attention to wars, that soldiers have done those kind of things of, touring and killing people, which we don't record, because it's gonna change the percentage of what was going on there. I forgot about the sequence with the village, because I was like, oh yeah, they went to the village and tortured it. It was so that guy was so annoying. I was hoping one scene, Mr. Shaw punching him, right in the face, because he was so annoying, a bigot, he was using these, these black soldiers for his own game, and just torturing the town of innocent bystanders. I mean, the civilians. I don't care what side they are. It's they're probably doing nothing wrong. So yeah, it was very frustrating. But it's good that Shaw was not gonna let. It was good that he was not procrastinate. He was trying to be proactive and getting his men in the battlefield. So this section, it was okay, it's come on, let's get them to the field, because they already trained. Because it was great to see them getting their uniforms, and they look, going to the parade was really great. They were properly soldiers. It was such a nice scene, and then all of a sudden they didn't go straight away to do the battlefield. It's ridiculous. So this scene was frustrating, but luckily they got their chance to do it when we get to talk about that.
Okay, thank you, sir. Cyber.
So pretty much this section, we just get more of, basically what they went through and battling, and kind of what they had to, basically ensue. Basically showing more camaraderie, more kind of them getting to know each other and stuff like that. And, I find it very, very, and entertaining, very well done, very well written, really well acted. And I think the war scenes, in this section are just as powerful and done well as was the, previous ones at the very beginning of the film. And I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really entertaining section. I thought it had a lot of great, things going on. We get to see more of Shaw kind of, trying to do better by his troops, trying to change the thought process that a lot of the, soldiers had at that time, a lot of the higher ups and stuff like that. And I enjoyed that. I liked what Matthew Broderick brought to that. I thought he did a really good job of giving us a kind of an idea of kind of, who Shaw was and kind of what he, believed in that led to him becoming, more acceptable and stuff like that of these things, and kind of just him growing as a person as well. And, it showed a lot of, some of that, just kind of that thought process still at the time, especially because this was, right after, Lincoln had declared a lot of things during the Civil War. And, I think that there was a lot that needed to be, basically unfolded at this time during that time frame of United States. And so I think they did a good job of showing kind of how that was and what it was going on and how it affected the troops and stuff like that. So I think they did a really good job giving us this really strong kind of midsection of the film, giving us more to get to know the soldiers more, at the same time giving you all that kind of information from history and stuff like that, and kind of what they dealt with. So I thought it was a really solid section that had a lot of great, powerful performances and some really great action.
Okay. Yeah, it's I mean, we glossed over, I glossed over also, of course, the whipping, right? Of, well, so they don't call it a whipping, I believe in the film, they call it flogging, but the flogging of Denzel's character, right? When he's caught, for taking off and going AWOL to get shoes and all that shit. That's a really hard to watch scene. Any thoughts, Andre's pop culture guy?
No, I makes sense with the frog. It's a different way of saying the whip and all that. So
yeah, it's whipping. That's all it is. They call it flogging in the movie, but it's whipping. That's all it is.
Yeah. Well, back then, that's their terminology back at that time. It's something we don't use as often now. Because it's
well, you could never do that scene in a film now.
No. The only time you only do it is either the time period that they actually used it. That's really it.
No, you could never do it in 2024. You could never have that scene in the movie now.
No.
You know what I'm saying, right, Cyber? You can't do that now.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the places will try not to do it, but with how times are changing, it might become a possibility again to actually show reality again in film.
No, you can't. You can't. People are too soft now. You can't whip black people like that used to be slaves and shit during the Civil War in a movie. Now you can't do it, but you could do it in 1989. You could, right? So there you go. But that's a tough scene. His back's all scarred up and shit, like as from being like whipped as a slave and all that shit. There's a lot of emotional shit in Glory. Glory is an emotional movie. It's a deep movie. It's sad. So that's my take on it anyway. So Shaw continues to lobby his superiors to allow his regiment to fight after weeks of having nothing to do but backbreaking manual labor, finally getting the 54th a combat assignment after blackmailing Harker and Montgomery by threatening to inform the War Department of their involvement in illegal profiteering. In its first battle at James Island, South Carolina, the 54th successfully repels a Confederate attack that had routed other units. During the battle, Searles is wounded, but saves Tripp from being stabbed in the back. Shaw offers Tripp the honor of bearing the regimental flag in battle. He declines, unsure if winning the war would result in a better life for ex-slaves like himself. So, what do you think, Cyber, about the battle? It's really good. Cyberneticshark.
Yep.
There you are.
It was giving me a hard time unpausing it. Anywho, I mean, yeah, the battle's amazing. All the battle sequences in this film were so well constructed and done. They were so amazing and awesome. And I loved the great feel they gave too, as well, showing the reality of what the Civil War was like and how it was a super bloody, horrible battle. I mean, it was even worse than the Revolutionary War. I mean, this battle, because we had more advanced technology at that time, 100 years later, they definitely had a lot more, things that they could kill you with. So, I mean, this was one of the bloodiest battles, before World War I. And, so you actually lost. From my understanding, they lost more in the Civil War than they did in World War I and II combined. For how many people perished, from civilians to people that were in the militias and armies and stuff like that. So, it is still considered one of the most bloodiest wars of all time. And I love that they, Edward Zwick got in there and gave us real, authentic looking, real battles and didn't shy away from that. And, I think the closest we had to that, showing that reality in recent years, was 1917. 1917 did a really good job of showing the reality of that, of, the First World War very well. And, Saving Private Ryan and, Patriot, all those films really showed the reality of these wars and did a great job of that. And I feel that Glory really was kind of the catalyst for that. It really started that off, giving us these really authentic, battlefield scenes, because we went on, we had, in the mid 90s, we had films like Gettysburg, North versus South, the Gray and the Blue. We had Andersonville. We had, a whole bunch of these different war type films, that Gods and Generals and so forth, that really showed what the battles were like. And I like that, this war sequence here that we just saw, how amazingly done and created it was in recreating this battle. Now, I know that there are quite a few different little wars that they did not show in the film, that this battalion or this regiment had fought in as well. So there was actually a few other battles they were in that they didn't show in the film. So these guys were battle, ravaged several times throughout, before their untimely demise at the end of this, toward the end of this war. So really well constructed, sequence here that just is really done well. And it just, entertains you and gives you a really great idea of how brutal and horrible this war was. But at the same time, it's very entertaining and gives you the action you are craving from a war film.
Okay. Andre's pop culture guy. What do you think for the battle?
Battle's pretty good. When we got our soldiers finally being in the battle, it was really exciting. Well choreographed, which is really good. I mean, as Saber said before, I mean, this was the first time we got a proper, like, intense, battle that felt action, but it was personal and it was brutal and raw. And that was the sequence. And we saw that in the beginning of the film as well, when we see Shaw the first time in battle. But, with this sequence, is a bit more long take, and you see that, which is really great. And it definitely influenced, the next couple of years of, these other type of war movies we see, as he's, say brought up, Gettysburg, the Patriot, the ones that were either Civil War or, Revolution wars that we heard of. So I think it was well done and well crafted, because the director here is a really good director. He directed The Last Samurai, another great Tom Cruise film. He knows how to really do these big, grand, action battlefields, but in a very raw and violent way that it supposed to be in these war films, because they were violent. It was interesting that Cyber brought up. It makes a lot of sense. Despite people thinking World War I, World War II, we lost so many people. Well, we didn't. It's it was back then, because I mean, we didn't have the big, protection stuff, ships and all that. So Yeah, so I really enjoyed the sequence. I want to get into the third act. That's like where it's like, oh my god, it really heats up.
Yeah, I love that battle. It's really good. Obviously the good guys win, right? So that's always positive. I mean, that's never a bad thing. But it's really rewarding to see the characters get that payoff in the battle, I think. But so General George Strong informed Shaw, along with his fellow commanders, of a major campaign to secure a foothold at Charleston Harbor. This involves assaulting Morris Island and capturing Fort Wagner, whose only landward approach is a strip of open beach. A charge is certain to result in heavy casualties. Shaw volunteers the 54th to lead the attack. The night before the battle, the black soldiers conduct a religious service. Several make emotional speeches, including Tripp, who finally embraces his fellow soldiers. On its way to the battlefield, the 54th is cheered by the same Union troops who had scorned them earlier when they had that big taboo, that fight. So 54th leads the charge on the fort at dusk. Suffering serious losses. I apologize. As night falls, the regiment is pinned down against the fort's walls. Attempting to encourage his men forward, Shaw is struck by several bullets and killed. Tripp, despite his previous assertion that he would not do it, lifts the American flag and tries to rally the men before he himself is shot dead. Forbes and Rawlins take charge, and the soldiers break through the fort's iron defenses. Seemingly on the brink of victory, the 54th realize that the enemy has cannons pointed directly at them. The morning after the battle, the Confederate flag is raised again over the fort. The beach is littered with the bodies of black and white Union soldiers. They are buried in a mass grave with Shaw and Tripp's bodies next to each other. A textual epilogue reveals that the regiment lost over half its number during the assault, and that Fort Wagner never fell to the Union Army. However, the courage demonstrated by the 54th spurred Congress to authorize the raising of black soldiers throughout the Union. Over 180,000 volunteered, and President Abraham Lincoln credited them with helping to turn the tide of the war. So, going back to you, I believe Andre's the pop culture guy. Go ahead,
Okay.
sir.
All right. The third act. Like, when I was a kid, one of the things that was a standout was the third act. So, like, intense and so brutal and, like, oh, it's like, oh, come on. Like, you really want the heroes, like, take over, this fort. They need to, like, take over, right? From the Confederacy or whatever. And so, like, oh my god, it's like everyone's getting shot to right and left, with cannons, and it's like, oh my god, and it's like they almost there, like they almost make it there, and then of course, Shaw, played by Matthew Broderick, like it's leading them, right, and when he gets up to the part where they're finally there with the fort, he gets killed, and it's like, oh my god, it was like it was so sad. And then you see, everyone's shocked about it, and then like they start to really ramp up to the hill, and it's like, oh my god, punching. And that scene alone is one of the best battle like sequence ever, like for a war film, and it just gets me just like really like tense and just like worry about my characters, and of course Denzel Washington takes the flag, which is poetic because he was asked by Sean to like I think lead the flag if someone's gonna or is it Desmond one took it Desmond Washington declined, but he in that moment he took the flag where it was supposed to be Thomas who was was supposed to take the flag, the American flag, and he gets shot, and I was like, oh my god, it was so brutal, and like just like, oh my god, like he's dead. And then you see, Morgan Freeman, and then the other characters seeing fighting each, the Ebony, and in a very brutal way. And it's like, oh my god, it's like commotions going on, like it's like so frightening. And then you see one other characters get popped, one in accession. And then when they would think that they're like they overrun the fort, they stop, and then they see more men, and then they just stand there and like they get shot, and then the whole army is like eliminated. I was just shocked. Very depressing ending. And just seeing the corpses, it was just really sad. And seeing Shaw's body being thrown to the pile, and then you see Denzel's body, triple his body as well. And it was really sad. And I was like really hoping, cross my fingers that these characters survive. But every time you see this sequence, it's like, oh, nothing good is gonna happen to them. And then of course half of them, died, but bravery, they tried their best. And and of course typical war movie, very trope things, like you find out like what happened in the aftermath. And so despite you know despite the attempt, they didn't take over the fort, as seated, but it did encourage many more black people to join the army. And so that was cool to learn. And of course I was happy that at least the president like acknowledged this men and their bravery, so that was really cool. um yeah, and I think I just check here, like I think one of the, I don't know, it's like Morgan Freeman's character, or someone like got honored with his bravery during this event. So very sad end, but like one that you're happy to hear what happened with the aftermath, and like at least their bravery is knowledge. But man, really just yeah, really depressing ending. And but the battle was fantastic, well choreographed, just like very intense. And it's something nothing really tops this really for me in terms of battles. But yeah, I highly recommend everyone to watch this film. So it's just a fantastic movie.
All right, sir. Cybernetic Shark, sir.
So yeah, the final act of this film is by far the best portion of the film. Just like Andrea said, this section always gets you really hard because it's sad, because all these amazing men sacrifice their lives to better the United States. And the whole ending sequence there, where it shows them burying the bodies, gets me every single time I watch it, every fucking time, because that is just how the bodies fall in that slow motion. And Matthew Broderick's character and Denzel Washington's character falling on each other, you just see that they're brothers in arms, that died together as equals. And so it was just, it's a really beautiful and moving thing. But this whole section is amazing because just like Andrea said, the choreograph of the battles are amazing and so well done at this section. It gives you a lot of thought process of what's going on. The fact that Trip, grabs the flag, even though he said he wasn't to, showing that even though, at his time in life, blacks did not have all the rights like they do today. He felt that there was change on the horizon and that he needed to show that he was part of that change by picking up that flag. And it's so beautifully done, showing you the camaraderie that there is in the United States, that it's, we fought together to better this, one of the most freest countries in the world. And so that's what's so great about this film too, is that it really shows just what our forefathers did to make it a better place for us too as well. These men, they had balls. Anyone that fought in a war, World War II, World War One, Civil War, Revolutionary, those were real men, and they fought to make this place a better place, and to get away from those types of things. So this film is just one of those great remembrances of all the work that we have gone through to get to where we are. And this film is just so amazing. And this whole end section, it really shows the beauty of, what, we had to do to get to where we are. So I think it's done really well. I thought, like, just like Andre said, the action was really done well, the choreographing, everything about it. And even how old this film is now, being 35 years old, it still looks so amazing. It's amazing in 4K. If you want to watch this, I definitely highly recommend watching it in 4K, because the 4K restoration was amazingly done. And even being 35 years old, I've seen films that were made 10 years ago that don't look this good. This film was really done well, and everything about it was so well. One of the greatest parts about this film too is that they filmed it on location where all these battles supposedly took place too as well. So I think that was another thing that really helped the film to really feel like it was real and that this is what was happening in 1863. So I think that they did a amazing job with this end sequence. It's a really well done and choreographed film. The score is amazing. The everything about it was just done so well. I loved how it ends with the credits saying what exactly happened. That how many of the soldiers we lost and all that kind of stuff. I always enjoy that they give us those tidbit and information of what they do know. And I think it was just so well orchestrated and well done. Really fantastic ending to a fantastic film.
Yeah, it is. It's like I said, it's an emotional movie. I would absolutely love to like I would watch the shit out of watching like a young person watch that movie. Like a 20-year-old kid or 18-year-old kid watch Glory, right? I watched that. Like like without question. You know what I'm saying? There's like a reaction or something like that type video. I watched that shit. I love Glory. I'll start off our rating on it. I'm gonna go ahead and give Glory a 9 out of 10. What do you think, Cyber? I'll go right back to you.
10 all the way. 10. Fantastic Four film.
Okay, Andre's a pop culture guy.
Yeah, same here. 10 out of 10. It's fantastic war movie. I love it. It's top tier movies for my ranking of war movies. So highly recommend everyone to watch it.
Okay. All right. Well, great job, guys. Glory was really enjoyable. I really enjoyed watching it again.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, really solid film. I don't know where I would rank it myself, but it definitely. I mean, I haven't watched as many movies as Andre as you have, or Cyber as you have. Like, I'm sure there's older war movies I've never seen before, probably that deserve credit. But I think Glory's got to be one of the top Civil War films of all time. If not the top Civil War film of all time. But that's just my take. You guys have any last thoughts on Glory?
No, I think this is an important story to learn. Because this is the part of history we don't talk about. Like a lot of people, I think, me specifically, our history and our school systems don't really give us like part of the history that we should learn, and they always gloss this part. Makes really sad because these brave men and women died during these wars, and so it's always important to learn these specific memory or part of this historic events that we are learning in the system, because we don't learn these. Because I didn't know, like when I was growing up, I didn't learn too much about other things about the wars that we should talk about. So I think Laurie does a really good job of educating everyone to know what happened in a good way, and it's entertaining well. And I think the Oscar wins it definitely deserve, and I'm very happy about that. So highly recommend it. And for me, I haven't seen the as well. Like I've seen a couple of war movies, but the ones that I haven't seen, like Apocalypse Now, is the one movie I haven't seen yet. I don't know like I don't know, like how it's gonna top this or Platoon. Platoon is a great film as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of great war movies, but they're different for good reason.
Yeah, Cyber, do you have any last thoughts on Glory?
Just a great film. Everyone should watch it. They should show it in school to show just how powerful the Civil War was. And it's just a phenomenal film that I can't get enough of. It's such a great film.
Hell yeah, most definitely. No, Glory's awesome. I love it that they had the baseball scene in the beginning. I think it's awesome. Isn't that cool, Cyber, that they played? I can't believe they actually played baseball in the Civil War and had games and shit like that. While they and battles would come in and actually affect the games. Like they had the same rules back then that they have now for the games. They would postpone them. They would cancel them. They had the same rules for how they handled weather and battles and stuff like that. And sometimes there would actually be battles that would occur. Like there'd be fighting that would stop the games, or players would die playing, get shot or whatever. It's crazy.
Yeah, they did it because to help with morale, and
yeah,
it helped to get the people, get the soldiers closer to each other, get them to be camaraderate with each other, and to work better. And it really upgraded their morale by participating in baseball because they were having to work as a team. So it really was, they did it because they wanted to help with morale, keep them wanting to fight this fight and not want to give up. And so, baseball, once again, that's another reason why it's considered America's pastime, because it helped with fighting with the Civil War.
Most definitely. Yeah, no, it's really interesting. The Civil War was brutal. They did a pretty good job for 1989 with the realism and the violence in this film, but the Civil War was a lot gorier than what you see in Glory. It was gory. I mean, really. But again, for 1989, this movie really stands up. Great job, guys, folks. We are done. That is our review of Glory, the MCU'S Bleeding Edge. Great film. Let's plug out of here, guys. I'll start with you. I'm a pop culture guy, sir. Time Lord, sir.
Yes. Hello, everyone.
I've been getting the notifications on my YouTube that you've been making content, so I always get them.
Yes. Well, I recently posted a great chase scene from No Time to Die. Check that out. I did a Outlander anniversary chibu. Check that out. I've been doing shorts. That's been the big thing I've been doing. The shorts been helping me a lot this month, so that's been really great. The last shorts I done was a chase sequence in Batman Returns when the Penguin take over the Batmobile. Check that out. I'm probably going to do soon another shorts very soon. I'm not going to tell what, but it's going to be spectacular. I did some shorts for Thanksgiving, but didn't click, so I pretty much put them in private, but doesn't matter. So doing very well this month of November. Oh, plus, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. I know this was yesterday, but I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. So yes, that's where I'm at right now. And of course, December, I got the setup for my 2 live streams. I can't believe it. It's going to be December. So please check out our previous one. I want to thank the boys here for joining me last Sunday to do Half Bake. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
There you go. I did not enjoy Half Baked. It was not fun to watch, but I was a pop culture guy. It's good company. So yes. There you go. We got to pick something better for our next live stream over there on your channel, brother.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Pick something good.
I did. I picked 2 good movies you will like. They're funny and they're action.
Okay, that's right. You already picked. I forgot. My bad.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, sir. You're great. You're awesome. I'm a pop culture guy. There you go. Wonderful. Happy Thanksgiving. Even though it already happened. Cyber. Yeah.
Well, of course, people, if you enjoy me here on the panel or as a moderator, you can check out my solo content. You'll find me under Cyberneticshark. I can see there my most recent review is the film Here, starring Tom Hanks, Robin Wright, directed by Robert Zemeckis. It's his newest film, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check out that review of it. As you can see, my most recent trailer reaction is for the Thunderbolts coming out next May, which looks like it's gonna be a really fun film. Hopefully, it'll be good. It'll be as good as Deadpool and Wolverine. I'll be having more stuff up for you guys eventually here soon. More stuff to edit and put together for you guys. Of course, if you haven't seen any of that stuff, definitely check it out. My most recent little short, of course, is the film Dear Santa, which is a new holiday film that's on Paramount Plus, starring Jack Black and PJ Bren, and directed by one of the Farley brothers. And basically, a kid writes to Santa, but ends up misspelling Santa's name and puts Satan, and it goes to Satan. Super funny. Jack Black plays the demon character that comes up to give the kid 3 wishes. It's pretty funny. Really funny movie, super hilarious. If you haven't seen it, highly recommend check it out on Paramount Plus. Super funny. Be having more shorts for you guys soon as I watch some more stuff, and hopefully we're going to see Wicked and Gladiator 2 here soon, so I can do reviews for those guys for you guys, and so forth. Keep your eyes out for the actual Red 1 review and Heretic. Those will be coming out soon. And yeah, just keep on trucking, keep on subscribing to us, keep on helping us get those views, and keep on building our bravado to, become masters here on the YouTube. And as always, please keep on watching us here on the MCU's Bleeding Edge as we bring you content every week. And yeah, keep on watching, keep on trucking, and we appreciate you guys. You're rocking it.
Most definitely. We definitely appreciate everybody. Guys, appreciate you. Cyber, I'll just pop culture guy. Pooja, Lodi, dropping phone numbers for I'll just pop culture guy and shit in the comment section. There you go, Andre the pop culture guy. Call that number, sir. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of the, you ever go in the bathroom and see like one of those phone numbers back in the day where it said like, for a good time, call whatever, and there'd be a phone number? You know what I'm saying? It's like that. You ever see that before, Cyber, back in the day in the bathroom? Remember that shit?
Yep, still see it today.
That was popular back in the day.
Yeah.
The old for a good time, call. It would literally say that, wouldn't it? Wasn't that the saying?
Oh my God.
Yes. I'm a faithful man. I'm married to my awesome and soon-to-be president, Angela Bassett. So, no way.
Donald Trump is the 47th president, not Angela Bassett.
Well, apparently, no. This is a good story in my timeline. Over in my timeline, she's gonna be the president in the new Mission Impossible movie. If you've seen the new trailer, so don't think about it. So she's gonna be the actual president.
Oh, Cyber, you had a male fan too hitting you up during the comment session. There you go, buddy. Get some Cyber love. Gotta love it.
Come on, I need Jay. Like, come on, people. Say hello.
He is a Facebook friend that I talk to regularly. So yes, he is hitting up here.
I'm sorry, I missed Jay. I'm sure Jay. If you're still there, brother, I apologize, man. I did not mean to miss you, but I was so enthralled with the Goy review that I did not even pay attention when you dropped your comment. So I'm sorry, Cyber. I know you have more friends than I do, sir. Anyways, all right, y'all. God bless everybody. Have a great weekend. For the MCU'S Bleeding Edge, for Cyber, I'm Jason Pop Culture Guy, and myself. We're out of here. Peace. Peace.